And it's the midweek edition of Business Morning live on Channels Television. Good morning, good evening, wherever the world you're watching from. I'm Ladi Williams, and it's good to have you join us this morning. Let's take a look at what's in the news. We see oil prices rose today, rebounding from losses earlier in the session amid concerns over fuel demand and the broader economy ahead of an expected big hike in interest rates by the U.S. Federal Reserve. A volatile session. Brent crude futures for August were up 46 cents at $121.63 a barrel, an early trade after falling to as low as $120.65 per barrel earlier in the session on the back of a 0.9% decline. That was on Tuesday. U.S. West Texas Intermediate crude for July actually rose 41 cents to $119.34 a barrel after hitting a low of $118.22 earlier in the day, having dropped 1.7% a day earlier. Surging inflation has led investors and oil traders to brace for a big move by the Fed this week. 75 basis point increase, which would be the largest U.S. interest rate hike in 28 years. That's a long time. Well, we're looking out for that to see how it all plays out. But we see the markets already reacting. Out to other news now. The World Bank estimates that inflation in Nigeria, one of the highest in the world before the war in Ukraine, is likely to push an additional 1 million Nigerians into poverty by the end of 2022. Quite a scary outlook there. This projection is contained in the bank's latest Nigeria Development Update that was published yesterday. According to the report, the additional 1 million is different from the 6 million Nigerians that were already predicted to fall into poverty this year due to rising food prices. This latest report highlights the inflationary pressures will be compounded by the fiscal pressures the country will face this year because of ballooning cost of fuel subsidies as oil production continues to decline. And the Nigeria Export Promotion Council is asking exporters in the country to key into its Trade Hub initiative to gain a wider access to the international market. Speaking at a meeting with exporters in Abuja, the executive director of the council, Mr. Ezra Yakusak, explains that with the establishment of trade hubs, which has the objective of boosting non-oil export and attaining the African Continental Free Trade Agreement, Nigerian exporters enjoy a platform to contribute their quota to the nation's socio-economic development. Do take a listen.
We at the NEPC firmly believe that our survival as a nation depends on non-oil export. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm very optimistic that after this meeting today, the exporters within the north-central part of Nigeria will be fully aware of the existence of this facility and make maximum use of it. This will not only improve the quality and quantity of our products, this will not only improve the quantity and quality of our export to the North African region, but it will also lead to improved foreign exchange earning into the Nigerian economy. Lastly, I wish to extend my appreciation to the resource persons led by Gazwan Mosalati of Agravity Limited in Egypt and J.M. Goma, who are special guests today. They'll be talking to us today on what you need to know about the modalities of implementation of the Export Trade House. This advocacy program is therefore germane. We have brought these experts here to explain in practical terms what the Export Trade House is all about, what benefits it can add to our businesses as exporters and the overall Nigerian economy. We in NABC have initiated this laudable project. It is now left for you to ensure its success.
And now to our first conversation. In the last 1 year, Nigeria has continued to experience a slide in its active.ng domain name, which is Nigeria's identity in the cyberspace. Well, some would say, what's in a name? Well, let's find out. Joining us now is the President, Nigeria Internet Registration Association, Mr. Mohammed Rodman, join us right here in the studios. Great to have you.
Thank you so much, Ladi.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Yeah, so we've been hearing a lot about the NiRA, for a while
NiRA,
now.
Yes, correct.
And I don't know, do you pronounce it NiRA?
NiRA.
NiRA.
Correct.
Quite interesting. Tell us about your association, first of all.
Okay, the Nigerian Internet Registration Association is a non-governmental, not-for-profit association. And we are the custodians of the .ng country code top-level domain. That is for Nigeria.
All right, and
Yes.
what are your functions? Like, what do you do?
The function is to allow Nigerians access to the .ng domains. And as you know, every country in the world have a 2-character name, on the internet, like .uk, .us, and the rest. So Nigeria is .ng, and we are the ones, the custodians of the .ng.
Quite interesting. How do you see adoption?
The adoption
is
quite pathetic, it's quite low.
Right.
And that's why we are going to reaching out advocacy, sensitizing Nigerians to ensure that they own their online identity.
But what is so special about having this domain name added to your company name?
The specialty is that when it comes to search engine optimization on the internet, and if you register a .ng, of course Google and the others will rank those Nigerian companies. And as you are aware, most of the companies that are registered in Nigeria, the visibility they are after, 80% of that visibility is within Nigeria. Hardly do most of the Nigerian companies actually sell products internationally. So in terms of national reach and visibility, people need to adopt the .ng, especially companies.
So if I have just a random domain name and I do business here, I can just
you can use the .com.
Get the visibility.
You can get the .com, but it would take you a lot more efforts to get the necessary visibility if you're using .com, because you are now in the global wide arena. And sometimes, in fact, what we encourage people why to register .ng is because when you register .ng, you pay in NiRA. Right now, as you know, NiRA has been devalued. We don't want what is it called, capital flight, people paying for domains, especially, for example, most Nigerians register .com, and .com is owned by a company called VeriSign, and that money flows out of the country to go and pay for that domain. And what we have been advocating is for people to register those domains, apart from only registering those domains, to ensure that those domains and the content and the hosting is done within Nigeria.
Quite interesting. So that's basically importation, when you get the domain names from out there.
Correct.
Taking out very important dollars that we actually need.
We actually need.
Quite
absolutely
interesting.
Right.
So recently you slashed the price of the .ng domain name.
Correct.
And I'm wondering, what was the price before now?
So I wouldn't want to mention the price because, we have registrars the ones that are reselling to the individuals, and the pricing varies in the ecosystem. Some charge higher, profit margin, some charge lower. I wouldn't want to mention the price, but we have sliced the price by roughly around 50%.
50%?
Correct.
Okay. That's a big number.
That's a big one.
But I'm wondering why. Why the slash?
Why the slide? Because the purchasing power of Nigerians has dropped. And two, when it comes to revenue, we have as a not-for-profit organization, we have generated sufficient surpluses over the years, and we decided we need to give opportunity to all Nigerians to own the .ng. And that slash is actually on the what is it called, second level domain, something .ng directly. But if you are purchasing a .com.ng, it's as low as 1,000 naira. I can mention that, for a .com.ng, as a company, if you want to register, it's as low as 1,000 naira, which is roughly around $2.
That's quite cheap.
Yeah.
But why do you think the adoption rate is still quite low, considering the price?
It's generally known, most of us Nigerians, we don't want to purchase local products, and that has been the major issue in Nigeria. We are mostly importing, and people don't want to associate with local products. So a lot of people feel that .ng is superior, .com .ng is inferior, .com is superior, and therefore they tend to go for foreign domains, especially the .com. And that has been the mentality in terms of that. So we've been trying to sensitize people that technically, and at any other level, .ng is similar to .com. Of course, .com might have more global infrastructure because of their sheer size. It's a multi-billion-dollar company. Of course, you can't compare it with us. But in terms of network stability, since inception of .ng, I can assure you we are live here, and people can challenge that we have never failed, not even once. So we've been running 100% uptime. So technically, we are exactly the same thing with the .com. And if we patronize the .ng, what I encourage Nigerians is that the money remains in the local economy. We employ more Nigerians, and more Nigerians will be more competent towards the administration of the .ng. So it's important that we do that.
Quite interesting. But what's the current registration like?
So the current registration is around 200,000 domains. Considering that you have 211 million people in Nigeria, with, according to the recent statistics by the NCC, about 201 million people have telephone lines, and maybe around 148 million have internet access. And still, we have this small, very, very small number. And that's because of the way of we perceive our identity online.
Right.
Yes.
And earlier this year, I know the Federal Executive Council barred, some government officials from using, random domain names. And I'm wondering, why now?
Okay, so over the years, actually, federal government have tried to insist that all government agencies adopt the .gov.ng because that's official, considering that there are a lot of scammers online, especially when it comes to job opportunities and so many other things. So there is need for government agencies to adopt the official website for each one of them. They have a .gov.ng. And over the years, some of them have been resisting, and they were using .org, .others on the internet. And right now, this government has really taken the right step in the right direction to ensure that all government parastatals, department, agencies are using the .gov.ng. Apart from not only using the website, they want to insist that everybody uses the email address under that domain. So you will see before now, some government, I've been to, what is it called, the defense headquarters some time back, a few years back, discussed with the general, and he gave me a card, and I saw a Yahoo email address, which is unbelievable. They already have .mil.ng, that is for .military. So this time around, they really want to insist that everyone adopts, including the email address, and goes a level higher to ensure that that content is residing within Nigerian shoes for our own data sovereignty.
But this is not the first time, they're taking this stance.
So initially, all that stance was there was no single policy that was fully documented that was supposed to be implemented. This time around, there is a policy that is coming from Federal Executive Council that was approved for that adoption. And right now, there is a committee under the National Information Technology Development Agency to ensure that compliance.
All right, but still looking at the price reduction, what impact do you expect? Do you expect more adoption?
Yes, so that review of pricing was done in March this year. And from March till now, we have seen like 30% increase in terms of adoption, in terms of the numbers. And we hope that that will increase substantially over the years.
Quite interesting. So what is the connection between .ng, local data hosting, and data sovereignty?
Okay, so the .ng is just the window to the internet. You register a name, for people to reach out to you. In that name, when you reach there, there is content, information that resides there, right? That you give to your web developer to create that content. But that content actually resides somewhere. A lot of people think it's called a cloud, right? You put information on the cloud. But the cloud is actually a physical infrastructure residing somewhere in the world. And what we are saying is that that information should reside within the shores of Nigeria. So if you register a .ng, make sure that you have a Nigerian programmer, web developer that developed that content for you, and ensure that it's residing within a local data center. So we have huge data centers in Nigeria, and we'll be able to host that information. And the beauty of hosting that information in Nigeria is that, as we speak now, almost all the containers that comes into Nigeria go back empty, right? The same thing with the internet. We are more of download than offload. And why? Because our information resides outside Nigeria. So when you put your information in Nigeria, it means you reduce the transmission distance for you to go and reach that content. And therefore, it becomes shorter. And that's what is called latency. The latency drops, and you have it very cheap. Because right now, what we are paying, while the internet is expensive, you have submarine cables that were laid under the sea, subsea cables, all the way from Nigeria to Europe. Right? But if you have your domesticated internet within Nigeria, what happens is that the cost of internet drops. That data sovereignty you're talking about, right now, if, for example, a governor of Lagos has an email address and the email server is in the UK or in America, when he sends an email to his PA, the email traverses all the way to UK. When he's downloading that email, it has to come back from UK. And between here and the UK, between here and America, there are so many other countries, and therefore, that data can be compromised. people can, I mean, networks can eavesdrop, and they can know what is happening. So for data sovereignty is important, and security, that all our information resides within Nigeria. So it makes it also cheaper, it makes it faster. The advantages are just countless.
Quite interesting. What are the incentives to get more private companies using the .ng?
So we have seen the adoption actually increases, and I said we need to do more awareness, and the strategy is keep campaigning, keep sensitizing, because some people do not even know that the .ng exists. So it's important to do that so that,
And we might not get a mandate at some point?
No. You see, we are not a government agency, as I said. We are not for profit organization. And I happen to be the president elected for 4 years. After the next year, I'm gone. Other people will come. And you can be a member of NiRA. So we don't look for government mandate to ensure that Nigerians adopt .ng. For us is to show the value and let them jump into it, not using regulation to compel anyone to buy the .ng. People should be patriotic enough to patronize their own local online identity.
Quite interesting.
Yes.
Recently, most developers, were complaining that they can't pay for servers abroad, due to credit card related issues. How is this helping them, at this point?
Fantastic. Excellent one there. You see, as I mentioned earlier, most of these developers host the information outside Nigeria. And right now, because of the credit card issues, you can't use your NiRA card to pay for a USD product anywhere in the world. So it's becoming difficult. And this is what we've been telling them. It's important we domesticate. We are not happy that it has reached this level, but to some extent at the back end, I'm happy that it's happening, so that they migrate their information locally within local data centers, within local hosting companies, and they can pay with their NiRA card. So it's quite challenging, and it's easy to migrate all their information that is out there back into the country. Yeah.
Quite interesting. Well, do we have efficient, because data centers and data hosting is another, kettle of fish. Do we have enough, for this?
Yes. So in the last few years, we have seen emergence of huge data centers in Nigeria. There is what is called an Uptime Institute. It's a certification agency that certifies globally data centers. And there is what is called Tier 3 data centers. There is Tier 4, but Tier 3 are the standard data centers. So we have such data centers in Nigeria that are resilient, that since their inception, not a single day have they gone down. You have, like, for example, Rack Center, you have, what is it called, MDX, owned by Min1. There are countless, there are so many coming in. Google have just launched the submarine cable, the Equiano, and there is what is called Open Access Data Center. They are building it $400 million. There are Africa Data Center that resides in the Eco-Atlantic City, is already live and active. There is another one called Medallion Communication. There are so many data centers that before now, in the last 10 years, we've seen emergence of such data centers, and they are more than capable to handle the
to handle all
data.
The traffic,
correct,
expected traffic.
Correct.
So if I am, hosting a .ng domain now, say with company A, can I, port it out to, say, maybe a company B, for instance?
Yeah, correct. Yes. So we have registrars. We have about 70 of them, or about 73 of them, and you can move from one registrar to another. And in fact, we have ways to ensure that even if the registrar resists, eventually we'll find a way to compel him to allow you move your domain. So people have options. Yes. So you can move from one registrar to the other.
To the other.
Correct.
Quite interesting. Well, we'll keep tracking adoption of the .ng domain name. I'll keep my eyes.
And you also need to buy one.
Why not?
There is name.ng. People use it to put their names, and it's as low as 400 naira.
For your personal brand.
For your own personal branding.
Quite
so you can buy Ladi.ng.
Ladi.ng. That
Correct.
sounds actually good. Thank you so much, Mr. Mohammed Rodman,
Thank you
President,
so much.
Nigeria Internet Registration Association. It was great having the conversation with you.
Delighted to be here. Thank you so much.
Right.
I appreciate it.
So after the break, AFX Commodities Market Update is next. Do stay with us. This is Business Morning. All right, now for the AFEX commodity update. It's mostly red on the commodity market summary for the week ended June 13th, 2022. The number of deals and AFEX commodity index were up about 2 and 0.81% respectively, with other counters in the red. Join us now is Femi Kehinde, analyst, structuring and origination at AFEX, to give us the details. Great to have you.
Hi, Laddie. Great to be here again.
Yeah, so Femi, tell me, how did my money perform this the week ended?
Yeah, so we actually saw a decline in the turnover on the exchange for the reporting week. We also saw a decline on the volume traded for the reporting week, about 90 and 91% respectively. However, we saw an increase in the number of deals on the exchange by about 2 times. For the AFEX Commodities Index, we actually saw a marginal uptick of about 0.68. However, for the AFEX Export Index, we saw a marginal decline for the index. In terms of volume traded across commodities this week, sorghum was the most traded commodity this week for the reporting week, followed by maize. We also saw the trade of ginger, sorghum, and paddy rice on the exchange. For the week, maize actually dropped by about 16%, closing the week at 219 naira per contract. Sorghum actually dropped by 2.12%, closing the week at 224 naira per contract. Paddy rice dropped by about 1.98%, closing the week at 246 naira per contract. And ginger dropped by about 4.56%, closing the week at 963 naira per contract. Other prices on the exchange remain the same. And for more information about our report, you can visit our website at afexafricanexchange.com, or you can follow us on our social media handles at AFEX Nigeria or COMEX by AFEX.
All right, Femi, not a bad outing there. Thank you for that update. But let's take the conversation further now. The African Economic Outlook report published recently by the Africa Development Bank predicted that Africa risks sliding into stagflation due to prolonged period of slow economic growth accompanied by high inflation, as price pressures and supply chain disruptions, emanating from the Russian invasion of Ukraine. We can't escape that, stifled output. So Femi, I'm wondering, as a player in the commodities market space, what are your thoughts, on all of this, food industry? How can we secure food? Because we need food to survive.
Sure. So the one thing we need to understand is the food system in Nigeria is what is underpinning the food supply in the country. And as we rightly know, smallholder farmers account for over about 80% of the domestic food produced in the country. Now, how can we improve the productivity of those farmers? What can we do to ensure that the system is more robust and more resilient by itself? Over time, we've also realized that capital supply in that sector is really marginal, is really low. So how can we increase the supply of capital in that sector to enable farmers access credit that's suitable to their needs and produce at the appropriate time, and to also enable producers or processors acquire the working capital needed to ensure that they actually continue in their business. So these are a lot of things we also need to take into consideration. We also need to take into consideration the fact that the infrastructural level in the sector is really low. As currently, we can store about over just about 5% of our annual produce of grains, which is very, very unappealing. It's not an ideal case in most countries. So how can we improve the supply of infrastructure in the country? How can we ensure that there's adequate storage for farmers to store their commodities and sell when they want to sell? The other thing that I think that is very important is the fact that we need to create efficient markets. So how can we create efficient markets, given that farmers stay in farther from or far away from economic hotspots where producers actually procure the commodity? And as a result of this, we've also seen a fragmented nature in our commodity system. So how can we bridge that gap? How can we leverage on technology to ensure that the market is more efficient, or there's efficient price discovery, players can effectively meet themselves and buy and sell, farmers can produce at the right time and produce enough quantity, and also gain enough income to ply back into their production, at the end of the day, increasing their productivity over time.
Quite interesting. But how would you say the current progress is for, AFEX at de-risking the agricultural commodities market, through, some innovative financial products?
Yeah, so not just product in itself, we've also leveraged on technology, and over time we've seen an increased progress in farmers that actually deal on the exchange. If you read through our impact report, you've seen that farmers that have dealt with us in the last 2 to 3 years or 2 to 3 seasons are less likely to be poor and less likely to be exposed to hunger. The reason for this is we have a robust electronic warehouse receipt system where farmers can actually employ their commodities to assess credible credits from traditional financial institutions. Prior to that period, we know that farmers did not find it easy to actually, or players in the sector did not find it easy to actually assess inputs or assess credit due to the fact that commodities never exactly met the collateral requirement that these traditional institutions usually had or usually accepted, right? But as a result of our innovative technology, our in-house technology workbench, which actually ensures that, okay, look, so the farmer brings a commodity to the warehouse, that commodity is graded, the farmer is issued an electronic warehouse receipt. The farmer can go to a financial institution and say, look, I want to raise funds, or I need this level of capital, and this is what I am pledging as my collateral. And this financial institution can accept it. Aside that, we've also come from a product perspective where we look at the issues each player in the sector is facing. So from a production side and from a supply side, what are the issues that are being preeminent in that sector, and what can we do to alleviate those issues, to make things easier for players? So we've looked at the producer side and say, look, you can't easily access working capital. So how can we create a product that limits the inherent risk that is evident in the agricultural sector and ensure that you actually gain the capital or the working capital you need to employ for the season and pay as convenient with you, right? Because over time, we also realized that the domestic or the traditional credits facility available in the country do not exactly fit the needs of farmers, or are not exactly suitable for farmers and the producers alike due to the different dynamics governing the agricultural sector. So yeah, we've leveraged on technology, we've leveraged on products, and we've seen an increased impact in the life of all stakeholders that deal on the exchange.
Policy directions and private sector roles that could help to mitigate the, intending stagflation in Africa?
So I think it's important that we place emphasis on the need for infrastructure. That's one. We can have private sector players, we can have the public sector players joining hands, creating partnership to provide necessary infrastructure for us to actually have a robust commodities market or robust commodities exchange in the country. So infrastructures like good road networks, storage networks, and the likes. So we need those infrastructures. Also, I think it's important that there needs to be a focus in developing the rural areas, because if these rural areas are largely underdeveloped and people continue to focus, or there's a continued flight from rural areas to urban areas, we see that the participants in agriculture might tend to reduce over time. And if this continues to be the case, we know that food production might likely decline, and it's not exactly a good thing for the domestic economy as a whole. So yeah, we also need to focus. We also need to focus our eyes or our intentions in developing the rural areas, ensuring that socio-economic amenities are available in those areas. We also need to find ways to open the sector to adequate financing. I mean, so how do farmers receive financing? How do processors receive financing? How do other stakeholders that are key to the robustness of this market receive financing?
Right, funding is a very big aspect of all of this. But what is AFEX, planning, or any ongoing plans on de-risking the food industry and providing food for the food industry?
I mean, so over the years, we've spent a lot of time to perfect our success model in terms of our engagement in the physical market, our engagement of training the farmers, ensuring that, okay, this is the right use of fertilizer, this is how you can assess credit, these are the products available on the exchange for you to assess credit and for you to produce on a timely basis. So we have that. We are also looking at building a derivative market where all market participants can actually lock their risks, so they can actually eliminate or reduce two risks that they are exposed to. So that's the supply risks, one, and also the price risks, right? Because a lot of the time we see, or like we've observed in the price fluctuations or the price movement of commodities in Nigeria, we've seen sharp, rapid price movement from immediately away after the harvest, right? So what if there's a process to which processors can actually lock in their prices? Also, farmers can actually lock in their prices, and at the end of the day, ensure that, okay, look, I'm promised supply, so I've eliminated my supply risks that I'm exposed to, so there's no tendency for my supply or my production to drop or halt as a result of supply disruption, and then at the same time my price loss has been reduced significantly. So yeah, we're looking to develop the futures market or a derivative market for that.
Right. So much you're doing that to make sure I don't go hungry. Thank you so much, Femi Kehinde, analyst structuring and origination at AFEX. It's great having you on the program. All right, so we'll take a moment now. All right, now let's take a look at what's happening in the markets. We have Ini right there with the details. Ini, looks like the banking stocks, they did it yesterday, took the market down.
Yeah, well, the banking stocks have not recovered, Laddie. Even last week, when we saw the market still tinting towards the bullish area or sentiment, the banking sector was still in the red, closed in the red last week and continues. I think a lot of investors have put in a lot of money in some stocks there. We talk of Zenith Bank, talk of FBN Holdings, Access Co, and just like this.
Sell-offs actually continue.
Yeah, this is the time to get that
Take
money.
Some profit.
Exactly. So let's see the details. The market ended red yesterday. The Osho index was down 0.16%. I would like to find out if analysts still think that the NGX is still around the bullish area with bullish sentiment with this red. Now, we still see the equities cap is still right there, 28.634 trillion naira. Would say we haven't seen a lot of depletion in the equities cap there. The activities yesterday were in the green compared to the day before. Yes, today is Wednesday. The day before, we see that volume, value, and deals were up yesterday. This added, well, not so much, but at least appreciable. We'll see more deals yesterday. And there you go, that banking sector. But it's not alone in the red zone today. Consumer is also down, industrial, only insurance. Unfortunately, insurance doesn't have that much weight, you know, to pull the market or determine the direction of the market. Oil and gas down the most there, almost 0.5%, and consumers actually did not move. We saw a lot of stagnation between consumers and industrial last week. Well, we have Richard Akumoladu, who is a stockbroker with CSL, joining us now to tell us what's going on in the market. Hi, Richard. Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
Good to have you, Richard. Well, I don't know what's going on with the banking stocks. Is this a good sign or a bad sign?
Okay, thank you. So, as you rightly mentioned, the rally that...
Okay, I think we have... hi, Richard. I mean, your audio is not really clean. If you would log off and try to log on back, I hope we'll still be able to take you on. Maybe it's the network or so. Please try to log off and log on again, and then we'll see if we can take you. Well, as is obvious there, a lot of profit taking in stocks like FBN Holding, Zenith, GT Co, brought the banking counter down. But I mean, let's not focus too much and make it feel like it's the only red in the market. The only red yesterday was the insurance, 0.16, almost the same percentage with which the market dropped. Top trades yesterday, there you see why the banking sector that's down. FCMB and UBA, a lot of profit taking on those stocks. Transco has been in the top trades for almost a week now, consecutive. You know, it's been in the top trade. Either there's profit taking or there's bargain hunting, but Transco seems to be getting a lot of attention. I hope Laddie will not think of buying that stock very soon.
You know me.
Well, let's go to the unlisted market now. NASD, the All-Share Index was negative yesterday. It lost more than 1%. Market cap is still about ₦1 trillion. Not very big drop we'll see there. And then 12 deals is what the market had yesterday, valued at 15.48 million naira. The volume is over 246,000. This market has been quiet, but we do hope that with the liquidity that expected in the market, we'll see some movement in the fixed income market. Yesterday, we see that the federal government bonds had 29 deals valued at 6.68 billion naira. And the 2035 March securities really caught the attention of a lot of investors there. It's brought in 3.4 billion naira into the market. We see that it's the mid-term securities are actually very attractive at this time. We're expecting yield to gain up a bit, and perhaps that will bring in more investors. And the almost security, 28 deals yesterday, very active, would say. 19 of that, see, the short securities are the ones that people really want. I think a lot of investors really just want to put their money and get it out not so long. So October 2022 got 19 deals out of all of that yesterday. And also the Treasury, also another sign there. The November 2022 had 35 deals. August had 10. And then next year, that's 2023, had some others valued at 15.5 billion naira. The CBN had 99 deals yesterday. And there you go again, July 2022 had the most, 44 deals yesterday. So, I mean, I think investors were losing a lot of patience. Let's see if we can have Richard just before Laddie takes over. Hi, Richard. Can we hear you now?
Yes, I'm back.
Awesome, awesome. So what's going on with the banking stocks? Is this a good thing or a bad thing?
So as I was saying, that the rally that the market witnessed earlier this year, we noticed that the banking sector were not part of the rally, and the major driver of that rally was numbers from listed entities. As you know that we keep hearing negative news from the macro economy, but this company were able to churn out good numbers. But we are yet to see that from the banking. So we know that majority of the tier 1 banks, they pay interim dividend half year. So I believe that by the time we begin to see these results, end of this month, and the dividend news, that might try to drive positive sentiment in the banking sector. We saw the like of GTB sell down in GTB. Even Zenith, the price is a little bit down now. And I think it might be a right price to come into these banking names.
Exactly. I wanted to ask, I mean, we always hear buy the dip. Would you say this is a good time to buy that dip?
So what we have noticed is that the market is dominated by domestic players, contrary to what we used to have before, that we have a foreign player playing the market and they can actually take volume from the market. But we noticed that these retail local players, they are very cautious in terms of their stock pick, and they look at the numbers critically before they actually take any positive position. So I know that the dividend is going to be a positive thing that will drive the banking space by the time we begin to see their results.
All right, so we'll be waiting for that dividends and do hope that, as you have predicted, that the investors will react positively to that. Thank you so much, Richard Akimoladu from CSL Securities, for sharing your thoughts with us this morning.
Thank you.
So, Ladi, there you have it.
Yeah.
Richard is advising.
Well, you know,
well, maybe just wait for the earnings. That's mine.
Right.
Yeah.
It's not an easy time for investors because you have a lot to decide right now, trying to find that bottom in most markets, and it's not easy.
And there's an auction coming out in the fixed income on Monday, so you might just be, have to keep your eyes open for that. Also, that might be a more steady and secure investment at this time.
All right, Ni, thank you so much for that update. Fingers crossed for today's close. All right, we'll head to London just after the break. Do stay with us. This is Business Morning. Welcome back. Let's head on to the UK now. We have Juliana standing by right there. So, Juliana, it's all about that plan to deport asylum seekers to Rwanda. It's faced a lot of legal challenges. What's the update now?
Well, according to Priti Patel, the Home Secretary, as well as the Work and Pension Secretary, Therese Coffey, plans are already underway for the British government to send these asylum seekers to Rwanda. It's a highly controversial plan, a 5-year deal that they signed in Kigali in Rwanda in April to send any asylum seekers that travel via the English Channel or in the back of a lorry to Rwanda. It has been met with significant legal challenges lawyers didn't fail in their attempts to try and get that flight grounded. Yesterday, at the 11th hour, the European Courts of Human Rights stepped in and they deemed the flight to be illegal, much, I think, to the relief of, we believe, 7 individuals who are expected to be on the flight. In fact, they were actually on the plane. So it literally was the 11th hour. We are having Prime Minister's questions today at 12 o'clock, highly anticipated. Lots of people will be watching because we do want to hear the official statement from the Prime Minister, Boris Johnson, who has in the past said they would indeed be changing the law to make sure that these flights can go ahead, which is really troubling to, I would say, most people in Britain. However, the silent majority are keeping numb on this. We don't really know what the British public think, because we do know that this British Conservative government are centred around migration and immigration and trying to stop people from coming here. Very, very contentious. We know that lots of people, in fact, over 100,000 British individuals said that they would be willing to give up their home to Ukrainians. Why are people not willing to give up their homes to people that don't look similar to them? Perhaps the answer is in the question, but we'll just have to wait and see. The legal challenge continues, but I think for our viewers who may not be familiar with the European Court of Human Rights, it isn't part of the European Union. Of course, we know Britain is no longer a member of the EU. This is a Strasbourg-based human rights court. It's part of the European Council, and Britain is a member. So at the moment, they are the highest court in the land that have ruled on this case, and there is no a lodge for appeal for the Home Office. But as I said, Boris Johnson, the Prime Minister, has teased that he would be willing to change the law.
Right. Well, we'll be watching out for that. But, the Fed, U.S. Fed today, everyone is expecting a rate hike, about 75 basis points. It's on the card for most analysts at this point. And we also have the ECB. They plan an emergency meeting today. How are investors and the markets bracing for all of this?
Well, I think closer to home, I think people really in this country are waiting to see what happens domestically tomorrow, where we have the Bank of England Monetary Policy Committee meeting in Threadneedle Street, where we also expect interest rates to be hiked by about 0.25%. But as you said, the ECB, the European Council, have said that they are going, the European Central Bank have said that they are going to have this unexpected meeting today. I believe they are going to be talking about the volatile market. That isn't just happening in Europe, it's happening across the world, but also more specifically to the continent. There has been a sell-off of government debts, but the reaction appeared to be slightly positive. I think lots of people are waiting to see what the ECB are planning to do to try and curb the whiff of recession that's making its way around the world. Again, similarly, across the pond in America, the Federal Reserve will make their announcement on hiking interest rates. We expect them to hike interest rates. We know that business confidence is slumping. Consumers are not spending as much much as they were, and inflation is at a 40-year high. We are expecting that rate increase. But then, of course, too much hike is a whiff of recession. So we'll just have to wait and see. But domestically, we're waiting for the Bank of England tomorrow, Lade.
Right. A lot for the central bankers to decide at this point. Thank you so much, Juliana. We'll get the updates at 1:30.
Thank you.
All right, now let's take a look at other markets. We see the crypto market still major sell-offs in that market. Look at the fear greed index this morning. We're seeing 7 points deeper into extreme fear. I've not seen this level in quite a while in this market. And we see the market cap there, $944 billion. Look at that. Extreme fear at 7 points. And the market cap lost that $1 trillion mark. Down again today, down about 6%. And volume traded, we see some volume coming in this morning, $115 billion, and Bitcoin dominance inching down to 42.96%. And we see Ethereum there, not left out with the sell-offs. That's also down about 7% this morning, with Bitcoin at $21,328. Down 5.65%. Volume traded $41.26 billion. We see Bitcoin price remains in a bearish zone below the 25,000 support level. So traders are trying hard to find that bottom in the market. Look at Ethereum there, $1,113, down 7.89%. Volume traded $25.68 billion. And the top ultimate market cap is also all red on the counter, as a red market we're seeing today, this morning. Let's bring in Rume Ofi now, digital market analyst. Hello, Rume.
Good morning, Laddie. Good morning.
Good morning, Rume. Great to have you. Well, before we start, I want to show you a quick brief history of Bitcoin crashes. We have a slide for that. In 2011, we saw Bitcoin fell from $32 to 1 cent. That was a massive crash we saw in 2011. 2012, we saw from $260. I don't know if I can get that slide up, to $45. Then we saw in 2013, Bitcoin went from $1,160 to $380. Then now we look at 2017, $11,100. $11,100. The bottom was $3,140. Then 2019, $13,800. Bottom, $3,860 in 2020. Quite a number of crashes we've seen, with Bitcoin. In 2021, $64,800 to $28,600. But now, we're coming from 68,000, Rume. And you see my question mark there. We're still looking for the bottom. What are your thoughts, Rume?
All right. I think this shows that there is some huge amount of progress in this. This is something that a lot of people need to consider.
Hello, Rume.
It's a Bitcoin crash.
Okay.
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now. Yeah.
Oh, all right, beautiful. So this is enough reason to show that there's something significant in the crypto market, aside the fact that it has years old and it has done quite a number amount in the market capitalization of about 3 trillion. So all of these things are signs that it is still evolving, it's still growing. But again, people should tread carefully when they are getting involved in things like this. One, it is not a get-rich-quick scheme. So, for example, if you bought Bitcoin at then about 1,000, it crashing to $380, that's a great loss for you. So people don't understand this, but we have actually studied history and understand how this is going. But again, you can also look at the macroeconomics, what is going on in the market. These are what's pushing the market. For example, you saw what happened in the lunar crash. Billions of dollars actually left the market. People lost a lot of money. Then you see the fear, uncertainties. Although, like I always say, in times like this, billionaires are actually made in terms of uncertainty, because this is a discount price, right? But you have to do it with some high level of intelligence, not monies for rent, school fees, and food. I I think people need to understand this and taking the education very serious. But I believe that all of this inflation here and there from the U.S., because the U.S. Fed is going to come up with a statement today, and some other, I think the ECB and some other banks that are coming up with their own statements concerning the global economy is no doubt affecting the market as well. But that doesn't take us away from, I don't know if you saw the analysis from the Bank of America. A lot is going on, and people are still interested in this industry and saying, we're going to hold Bitcoin as long as possible. And around 19% of people, actually respondents from the Bank of America, saying they're going to hold Bitcoin.
All right, Rume. Well, no market is safe right now, Rume. All markets are rattled from NASDAQ. Global equities market is a risk-off approach most investors are taking now. And it's not easy, you know, when you see all these price crashes, Rume. It's not easy to buy these dips, and especially when you don't even have funds to actually buy the dip. So that's another problem. A lot for investors to decide at this point. But anyway, Rume, thank you so much. It was great talking to you.
Thank you very much. People should stay safe and keep their mental health really safe, because it's really tough here right now. So mental health, very important.
You need to check your mental health when you see like 100% drop, you know, on your portfolio. That's crazy. Thank you so much, Rume.
Thank you very much.
All right, now that's a wrap on the market segment, and that's a wrap on the program. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to join us by 1:30 on Business Incorporated for more updates and developments in the world of business. Thank you for watching. I'm Ladi Williams. Bye for now.